in it too. And so, I started talking about it on the message forums, and ultimately, that business grew by me realizing the best way to reach people was through example of showing them how well the product works and the fact that I had the confidence to use it on my own vehicle, and then sponsoring those message forums to reach more of those people, tell them more about it, and then from there, we grew the product. So we started offering clutch assemblies for all different models of Lamborghini as well as Ferrari. And then even doing custom builds for a lot of other model cars, and then from there grew into asking, what else do people need? If they were going to be changing a clutch, they needed all of the supporting parts. So things like a hydraulic slave cylinder, fluids, all the things that we need. We started offering all of those. So started doing wholesale OEM parts, and then even doing things like designing aftermarket exhaust systems, and it kind of became a one-stop shop, for all these sorts of parts. And the business kind of just grew organically that way. So that business is actually one that is a good example of just creating a solution to a problem, and the customers, it's just identifying a hole in an industry. So nobody's really serving that need, and so I filled that hole. So that was one business. The other one, which I actually recently, that business was acquired by another company, and called AMH Exotic Parts. So I've exited that business, and as a serial entrepreneur, it's ultimately your goal is to start something, grow it, build the customer base, have it profitable, and then have it acquired. So my main business currently is actually in a completely unrelated field, and that is we manufacture hydraulic trailers. So it is in the trailer, transportation industry, and that's actually a really interesting story. How that business came about. Can you guys? I've lost the video signal. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, at least.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Anyhow, so with the trailer business, I was actually working. I ran this business simultaneously, but I was working at the time that this idea came about in the construction industry, and it was a long time ago. This was early 2000s, and I had found out that there was this type of equipment called a scissor lift, and it's made for it's usually used in commercial construction, but basically it's a hydraulic lift that lifts people up into the air to be able to reach things overhead. And there was a company that specifically made trailers to transport those, and the trailers that they made, they're the only company that made such a thing, and they were extremely expensive, and they were notorious for having problems with blowing out tires. And so we used these trailers at the business that I was working at, and I thought, this is, it's really annoying. It's an extremely expensive trailer that constantly has tire failures, so you can get stranded on the side of the road when it blows out a tire, whatever. And so I started asking around if anybody else was having this problem, and everybody that was using this thing was having the exact same problem. And so everybody, when I asked again, like later when I was asking about the clutches for Lamborghinis, well, what do you guys do about this? Nobody was doing anything about it. And so, they basically the answer I would get was you have to pay to play. So if you wanted the utility of something that could drop out on the ground to easily load the equipment, the scissor lift, the cargo, if you wanted a trailer that could do such a thing, you just had to deal with the fact that it was going to blow out tires. So basically they said that you just needed to deal with the design being poor because of how useful it is otherwise. And so what I did is, as an engineer with a background in engineering, we just are taught to look at how to create a solution to a problem. And so I looked at why the problem was happening, and started working on brainstorming, how to solve that problem. And so, the technical side of why that was happening is because the way they had secured the spindle and the wheel hub that the wheels bolt onto for the trailer, it was extremely, it was just flimsy. And so they had no intention of fixing it, so ultimately designed a solution to that problem, and we designed a better setup and patented it, and joined somebody that would help in manufacturing this, and we then started that business around that. And of course, that was a slow growing business. Today, it's a multi-million-dollar business that is pretty much triple in size every year, and so nowadays it's with that business, what we do is just look to what's the next industry that would benefit from having such a thing. So, but the things that are in common between these two businesses were just looking around and seeing that there is a problem and that nobody has cared to address it, then asking myself, how can I fix it? What resources do I have to create a solution to that? And then what steps do I need to take to be able to execute that solution, to be able to breathe life into these ideas? And so there's a lot of steps that I've skipped over there, and how do you find somebody that will make such a thing, and things like that. But the point is, first, it's identifying a problem and then putting together a plan and how you want to solve that problem. And then from there, you can start putting the pieces together to form the business around that. But any business needs to be based on either solving a need for a product, a need for a service, anything where you stand to impact a lot of people, a lot of businesses, on making their life easier, making a process more efficient, anything like that. So that's kind of the story of how both of those came about, were the same thing. So. I was actually trying to open my